If you ever wanted to bring in people to your broadcast as an interview, whether it's going to be for a podcast or a video stream or a recording, interview mode is one of the best ways that you can do that. Now, there is an alternative. It is called Ecamm for Zoom, and that is where your attendees or your speakers or your guests will be joining through Zoom, and then you'll be bringing them through. Now, we already have a video for that. This one's specifically about interview mode, which is an alternative to using Zoom. So as you can see here in the Ecamm Live interface, I've got this window that says interview, and that is your interview mode window. The immediate thing you'll see here is the video of your own camera, and it's going to be dependent upon which item that you select. So if you click on the little drop-down menu at the top right corner, you can choose camera A or the active speaker, or you can choose the actual camera itself. So these are different camera sources that you're going to be able to choose from there. Now, I want you to quickly also just double check in the Ecamm preferences section here under the interview tab. At the bottom here, you have the guest view. And you have two options. It's either to show the guest the broadcast, which is your program feed, or you can show them just your host camera. For the most part, I've never seen anybody who just wants the guests to see the host camera. So go ahead and make sure that you select the broadcast item in here. Now, once you have that set, what you have here is a little toggle button that you can disable or enable interview mode. So if you obviously want to bring in guests, you need to enable this. And then you will have a little drop down area here, and that will have your actual interview mode link. Now, you don't see this here because I'm just recording this in Ecamm Live. You won't see it right now, but it will be here. And if you click on that, it will automatically copy that URL into your clipboard, and you can send that to your prospective guests. So I'm going to allow my guest to go ahead and come in right now. And when they're joining, they're going to be going through a process of clicking on a link, opening it up in their browser, and then selecting their webcam as well as their microphone for their computer system. And once they've done that, then they can join the room. Now, they do have the option of entering their own name. And as they do that, that is what's going to be showing up on my side. So you can see here, my good friend Brett and business partner Brett is joining me right now. So I can decline his request, or I can go ahead and answer that call. So now I've answered that call, and you can see that Brett's video shows that he is in the guest room. So let me show you a couple of things that are going to be used in your interview mode sessions here. So the first thing here is I can go ahead and enable or disable his name showing up on his video. I can rename him if I want to over here, and I can adjust his individual audio from this little audio meter here. So if I want to mute his audio, I can go ahead and click on the little speaker icon, and he cannot override that. I can just adjust it if he's too loud compared to the other guests that are with me. So if you do have multiple guests on interview mode, you can actually adjust their audio independently using this slider switch. So by default, I have Brett entering the green room. Now, all of my interview mode guests are going to go into the green room. So what does this mean? It means a couple things. One is that their video sources are ready to be able to be added to a scene, but they can only hear what's happening in the broadcast. They can hear and see what's happening in the broadcast. If they say something right now, they're completely muted. So none of us can hear him. So for me to go ahead and add Brett in my guest interview, what I can do is I can either go here and click on the camera switcher and click, and all of a sudden you'll see here now Brett is apparent in the interview mode window. And if Brett says something, you'll notice that the interview guest audio meter will move. So hey Brett, how you doing?
Hey, good. How's it going, Daniel?
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today and helping everybody out on the interview mode feature inside of Ecamm Live. So as you noticed, Brett just said something, and the interview guest audio meter moved, except my audio meter did not move. And that is what you want to ensure that's happening. Because again, if you hear your guest speaking and your audio meter is moving, that means there's going to be echo. And vice versa, if your audio meter is moving and you also see the interview guest meter moving, there's going to be an echo on your side. So double check those meters, and if you have to, remember, go back to the sound levels video and learn all about that, because I differentiate when you should see things and when you should not see things. All right, so let's carry on. So let me go ahead and create a new scene here, and this is going to be called me and and guest. And then I'm going to create another one, and it's just going to be called guest. So I know that on my guest, I want it to be a full screen video. So I'm going to go ahead and enable the camera mode for this scene. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to select Brett's video. Okay, so now I know that whenever I switch to the guest scene, it's going to be Brett full screen, and when I switch to the me scene, it's going to be me. However, on this next scene here, I want both of us to be available there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the camera scene. And actually, you know what? I'm going to do this easier yet. I'm going to drag in my video here. And if you remember earlier, I had saved the settings to look like this. And then I'm going to go ahead and duplicate it, so I can either copy it and right click and, actually Command V and paste it. And so now there are two video sources. Okay, so I can do that, and then all I have to do is switch the source of this second video to guest Brett. Now, what you'll notice though is if I selected in this selector just the guest Brett video source, anywhere else that I wanted to actually put Brett, it's not going to work very well. So let's do this. Let's create another scene, and it's going to be called me plus guest screen share. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and copy me, and I'm going to put us in the top corner. Oops. I'm going to duplicate us. I'm going to put Brett over. Actually, I'm going to put that as a guest spot. And then I'm going to add a screen share. So let's see, screen share, and turn this into my third display. Let's get rid of all these corners. Okay, so now here's a scene where I have the guest's position instead of just selecting Brett's direct camera. And if I want to, I can go into every scene where Brett's video is, and I can manually change. However, remember, we have those camera placeholders. So if you want, again, go to those details, go into the playlist again and go watch the camera holders video that we have. But you can select guest one in this spot. You can select guest one in this spot here. And also in this area, you could say that it is going to be guest one. So you'll notice that guest one is now blank in each of these three scenes. And all I have to do is go over to the interview mode window, click on assign, and I'm going to assign Brett into the guest one placeholder spot. So now he shows up on this side-by-side scene, the full screen scene, as well as the screen sharing scene. And that's one easy way where you can apply or add your guests into multiple scenes across your entire Ecamm Live profile. So now this is pretty much most part like what you're going to be doing for your scenes when you're bringing on a guest. And the other thing though is now the guest has an opportunity to do their screen share as well. All right, so I know that Brett is actually going to be sharing his screen. He's going to be actually on the danielchi.live website. So Brett, can you share your screen for us, please?
Sure. Let me do that right there.
All right, and now what you'll notice on the producer side, that's my Ecamm Live side, you'll now see a new video source that is his screen share. So if I wanted to, I can go ahead and add this screen share as guest number 10. And then on the screen share scene that I have in Ecamm Live, instead of going and actually doing one of my displays, I'm going to hide this, and I'm going to add another camera overlay. And that's going to be guest number 10. You can see Brett's screen. All right, so let's do that, and then let's change this to the widescreen format. All right. And so now this is an actual scene where Brett is navigating the website. Now, this could be a PowerPoint presentation. This could be a keynote presentation. This could be a browser. And so as Brett continues to browse through the Daniel Chi website, I see the distribution or the changes automatically on my Ecamm Live production. So this is an area where now you can allow your guests to do their own presentations. So let me do this, for example. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this, and it's going to call guest plus screen share, and I'm going to eliminate myself from that. And so now all of a sudden, this is me remote producing something for Brett. So Brett is now teaching in full screen, and he's talking about, so and so. And then he says, I'm going to share my screen now. And then he starts to share his screen and he's navigating through the website. So these are some little cool tips that you can start to incorporate and implement in your Ecamm Live journey. This is a wonderful, wonderful way for people to be able to come into your Ecamm Live production quickly and easily through any device, as long as it's using a Chrome-based browser. So it could be Chrome, it could be Brave, it could be Firefox as well. However, it cannot be Safari. So do not use the Safari browser for your guests when they're coming into your interview mode link. Now, one last quick thing. The details of this are also in the camera effects video. So again, if you haven't watched that or if you want to review it, go back to the playlist and go watch that video. But what you'll notice is that my head is a lot higher and Brett's is a lot lower. Well, instead of just asking Brett to readjust his camera, we can actually go into the camera effects window and adjust Brett's camera alone. So if I go here and I know that guest one was always Brett, I can go here and click on zoom and pan, and I can zoom him in and then pan it around. So now his head is properly placed in the video. And then for me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my camera here, and I'm going to do the same thing because typically I want things to look very, very similar in terms of the size of our heads and the zooming in. So now you can see that Brett's head and my head are level, and they're pretty much filling the space and the scene here. And you can go ahead and do that in all of your scenes as well. So if I wanted to adjust this scene, I can do that and bring him in. And this one as well, you can do that. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this like this. Now, what you'll notice, I did that in every single different scene. Now, you actually don't have to do that for every scene. You can do it for one. If I know that, for example, Brett's full screen here is exactly the correct placement and the size, I can scroll down on the camera effects tab and click on apply to all scenes, and then confirm that by clicking this button. Therefore, all of the scenes now have him perfectly placed for each of those displays in those scenes. So that's one little trick that you can do to make sure that all of your guests in interview mode look the same on each and every single one of your scenes. All right, Brett, thanks so much for joining me today on today's tutorial.
Thank you, Daniel.
All right, we'll see you later, Brett. So when I'm going to leave or change the scene and remove my guests, what I can do is I can switch out of that scene. However, what you're going to know by default is that Brett is actually still in the production. You can see he's active here on the interview mode window. Even though the production doesn't see it, they can still hear him. So Brett, if you say something right now.
Yeah. Hey, am I still in the show?
You're actually in the show, man. You're live right now. We're recording.
Man.
So what you need to do is a couple of things. One is, as the producer, you can go ahead and click on the mute button, and therefore Brett can't say a thing. It says you muted the guest. And also on his side, it says he's muted. Or the guest, you can teach them that they can mute themselves. So on Brett's interface, underneath his video, there's actually a button that says mute. So Brett, if you go ahead and click that mute button, it says the guest has muted themselves. Now they will not be heard in that broadcast. So this is something, as you start to use interview mode more often, you'll want to be able to teach and train your interview mode guests how to use that interface. So just join in on your own computers, ask family and friends to join in, and or do it on two different computer systems. As long as the microphones can't hear each other's speakers, then you're fine. So go ahead and practice that. Interview mode is one of the most fun things to do inside of Ecamm Live because it's really about making connections. It's about increasing your enjoyment and really building those relationships and bringing on other pieces or other people who have lots of talents outside and above and beyond yours that can actually help and create more advanced content for your business. I hope you're really enjoying this Ecamm Live Masterclass because this has been an absolute joy for me to actually create. And the reason why is because I just love Ecamm Live, and I love the whole aspect of content creation, and I hope that you do as well. So please go ahead, leave some comments below. Let me know how you feel about this. Let me know if you have other questions about the specific topic that I'm sharing in this video. And another thing that I really want you to do right now is I want you to go ahead and scan this QR code or click the link in the description below, because this is where I'm going to be housing not only just this Ecamm Live Masterclass, but a lot of cool extras that are not going to be found on YouTube. So you have to register for absolutely for free in order to grab this content. It's in my member portal. So go ahead, scan the QR code or click the link in the description, and I will see you on the other side. Now, back to the regular show. All right, and that's it for interview mode. If you want to learn more about other aspects of Ecamm Live, including Ecamm for Zoom, I want you to go ahead and click over here to the playlist and then click away to your heart's desire. All right, thanks everybody.